Recording is on.
All right, so we're talking about leveraging your communications investment with managed services. And to get started, one of those things we need to understand is why this is important. And the key reason is that we've seen over the last year a huge increase in the importance of cloud and cloud services. Particularly in the last year, we saw an 86% increase in interest in customers transitioning to cloud. And there's no surprise why that reason exists and why that has occurred in the last year with the movement of many more people moving home to work, the response to the pandemic and the changing circumstances. It's not a surprise that this number occurs, but it was very rapid and people had to make very quick decisions. The head of Ford pointed out that in March they had 2,000 people working remotely. 24 hours later, he had 80,000 people working remotely. And those are the kind of huge changes that we all saw. But the interesting part is that that change is continuing. And the numbers that we expect to see is that 68% or so of companies that have not done a transition to cloud will do so by the end of this calendar year. And that's a huge change. Now, does this mean that you have to immediately change to cloud? No, not at all. You've already probably made the accommodations you need for remote workers. You have to look at that and take into account what really makes sense. But it is something that's becoming a much bigger trend and much more important to workers out there. And there are really good reasons to move to cloud. Now, while there are great reasons to be a premises-based customer, cloud brings the most advanced technology. It brings a real flexibility in being able to scale up and scale down, add new features and resources quickly and efficiently, and do it all with fewer IT resources focused on your phone and voice communications. It obviously enables remote working, and this is the key value proposition that we've seen really get people interested in the last year, is that strength of remote working in the cloud platform. And the reason for it is very simple, which is simply that for a cloud solution, every single user is a remote user. Unless you happen to be sitting in the cloud provider's actual own data center, you are a remote user no matter what. So it really doesn't matter if you're in a corporate office or you're in a home office or you're on the go or you're anywhere else. You have the same challenges to overcome and the same challenges in the product to solve. So it means that this product is automatically optimized at all times for remote working. As we've said, there's a huge change that's gone on here, a few statistics to get you to understand what the change that's already happened, but also the change that's going to be going on from now on. You know, almost half the population is working remotely today. And we expect to see almost 80% of companies to at least have some portion of their workforce either work permanently remote or part of the time remote in a hybrid environment. So remote is here to stay and it's not going away. And there's some good reasons to do it beyond just the healthcare reasons that we've done in the last year. Real estate savings alone can be huge. A recent survey of leading CFOs determined they could save up to 60% of their total real estate outlay if they adopted stronger remote working processes and procedures. Huge percentage of their budget line items. They could also reduce up to 54% of their office operating costs at the same time. So these are huge savings that can be had and a real value proposition to the bottom line by embracing these as a long-term policy shift. And that's a good thing because the workforce itself is very, very invested in this. 66% of workers out there say they want to remain remote, and 53% say they're willing to change jobs over the topic. And even possibly more importantly, 41% say they're willing to take a pay cut so that they can remain working remotely. This is something that really people have gotten invested in. They like the lifestyle. For some people, it doesn't work, but for a lot of people out there, it has become very, very important. So remote and cloud has a real value, and it's something that you want to be looking at and evaluating. Now, once again, you don't have to do this tomorrow. That's not the point. You may be set with what you've got happening right now. But when you make your next decision, your next transition on your cloud, on your solution, you've got to be thinking about cloud. You've got to consider it. And that's where the point of this webinar gets to, because there's a key problem. Today, cloud service and support is really lacking. There's some real problems here. This is the biggest issue the industry has. And let's understand this from a simple business model. So in the premises model, which Vertical has been doing for years and years, we sell you a phone system, one of ours, one of Mitel's. It's a phone system. It goes into your location. You've got it. And then that may last 5 to 10 years. And then we sell you an upgrade or a replacement system to support you during that intermediate time. The vendor also sells you a software maintenance contract that provides you all those security updates and other pieces that goes on between these two major parts. And then we may bill you time and materials basis for additional projects, for helping you with issues, those kind of things. Or if you're really smart, you just turn it into a standard budget line item with a vertical support contract that makes it very simple for you to get all of your needs taken care of during this time period in one simple contract. Now, this offers a very, very clear model because the manufacturer has a very clear area where they make money and they know what their ongoing points of sale are going to be. And Vertical, as a value-added reseller, has our value add, the service and support piece, which provides us with the piece that we're looking for. And this is nice and clean, and everybody has a part and piece to it. The problem when you get to the cloud model is basically you have the vendor sells an ongoing monthly service. And in the standard model, an agent, as they're called, which could be a company like Vertical, brings you to the table, or maybe you contact that cloud vendor directly and you start doing business with them, and they'll sell you an ongoing monthly service, one flat fee that covers everything. This includes monthly phone service, unified communications capabilities, software upgrades over time, and support, all rolled into this. And this all is a manufacturer item, and whoever brought you to the table, there is an agent involved. They'll get a percentage commission on this, but they're not required or in fact expected to provide any of these items here. And the problem with that is that support is no longer a value-added item. There's no longer a value-added reseller that's saying, hey, we have a stake in this game and we've got something that we're delivering. The problem becomes that support and service is now purely a cost line item. So in the cloud model, the cloud tries to minimize the amount of service they offer. They offer lots of self-service resources, videos, knowledge bases, articles online. They try to minimize access to live support because they determine it's costly. Now, they'll have it for you and it's there, but the goal is to try and minimize as much as possible of this. In fact, there are vendors out there who have options where you pay an even cheaper price for having a virtually no contact deployment and support model. And that's a very real thing because all of this is just a cost. It doesn't actually add anything. It's not a value add. It's not something that they're selling. It's not something that you're saying, oh, this is why I'm buying. You're buying because of the actual services itself. The support becomes just a cost line item, and this is a problem. A really clear example of this is there's a leading cloud vendor who, when they first launched, had on every single phone that they deployed a dedicated support button that you could hit and immediately hit their live call center and ask a question for every single end user. As they grew and became more successful, they took that feature away because they realized they could not support it. It was not of value to them. It was a huge sink on their resources, and it just was not able to scale because of this problem. So what we see in these two different models, in the premises-based model, service is a value add. There's an additional payment for it. There's an additional value proposition where you're seeing, oh, hey, I get this and I know what the cost is and everything. Because it's bundled in the cloud, though, it's a cost center, and the value of the cost center must be minimized. And that's a problem, or has been up to this point. Because that brings us to the point of this webinar here today, which is the managed services model that we're going to be talking about. This is a great new model for providing service for cloud that equals or exceeds the service that you've been able to get on a premises-based system in the past. So now you can get all the great features and capabilities. For example, we'll be talking today about Mitel's MiCloud solution with Vertical's award-winning support rolled right in under all the same one single fee structure, same pricing model that you've been thinking of, but now it's being reapportioned so that you're going to get great support as well as a great product, and cloud becomes a really, really great solution for you all around. This is a new model that Mitel has worked through, and Vertical has led the way in developing and supporting this concept. And so here's what it looks like now. When you get a Mitel MiCloud solution, the sales process will be entirely vertical. We will engage with you. We'll do the discovery. We'll understand what you need, design the solution, quote it to you, sell it to you, and then we will do all of the implementation and training and rollout so that you get up and running effectively. We will do the tier 1 and tier 2 support going forward, and the entire customer relationship is owned by vertical. When you have a problem, you call us. We're going to fix it for you. And then the hosted platform itself and the billing model, that comes from Mitel still. But now we have a more standard business model where it makes sense that vertical is providing, once again, the value add that it always has. We get paid for offering the service. We have a motivation to provide great service. We differentiate ourselves from other cloud providers and even other people providing the Mitel product by offering the great service that we do. And then we can package our other services offerings, network services, hardware support, additional professional services pieces. We can package all of that together. And Mitel gets increased customer satisfaction, lower customer turnover, what's called churn in the industry when somebody comes to the end of their contract and doesn't renew and goes off to a different cloud provider. Because one of those honest secrets of cloud that they don't talk about a lot is because there's no longer hardware invested on your site, because you don't have a big phone system put in place, it becomes much easier for the customer to turn over when they're not satisfied and go to a different vendor. That becomes an easy thing to do. Mitel continues to get to leverage the existing relationships that we have with, for example, all of you, our customers out there. And they also get in the mix the local service capability that Vertical offers for all of our customers nationwide. So this is a great new model. This is a way that you can get cloud services with the great vertical customer service and support you've always expected. In the past, with cloud offerings, vertical had to go with the agent model. That's what we had as the offering, so we wouldn't be able to support you as well or as much and do as many things. But over the last few years, we've been working hard to bring this model to cloud, and Mitel is not the only company we've done this with. This is something we have already established over the last several years and have proven success with other vendors in offering. And now we're happy to bring Mitel to the mix so that we can provide you with a true partner-led solution, which allows us to be the value-added reseller that you're used to and providing you with a great solution. And that's going to be the power of what we're talking about here. Mitel's great solution with Vertical's award-winning support in a model that makes sense from a business perspective, where we're not trying to minimize the amount of service, where the service is the value proposition, because you're going to pay the same cost fee, the same monthly fee that you would pay, but you're going to get the ability to have that essentially a vertical support contract built into this, where you're going to be able to call, get problems fixed, get basic move adds and changes done, and all of that service is included in your standard monthly fee. Now, beyond just getting this great new model, there's a lot more going on here. Mitel realizes that there's a lot they have to do to make their product successful in the marketplace. And so they've taken a real effort over the last year plus in focusing on building a better, best-in-class infrastructure with better day-to-day operational practices to give you a highly reliable, highly reliant system that you're going to be comfortable is going to make sure your system is there at all times. Part of what they've done is they've moved in using best-of-breed solution providers to provide parts of their solution. So we're seeing now that their telephony components are hosted in Google Cloud. They have messaging and meetings portions hosted in Amazon Web Services. And so they're using the best already out there on the internet to be able to provide the services that you need and provide those capabilities without having to go reinvent the wheel. No one's going to probably do better than Amazon or Google at being able to provide a highly reliable data center. So why go ahead and try and do it yourself? Just go ahead and use them. To get a little more detail of what's going on here, you can see all the different parts and pieces that are built in here to the solution. And to look at it from a different direction, you can see that you have different options over here on the left as the customer to either use the public internet or your private network, be it an MPLS and SD-WAN connection, to connect your services back into the Mitel network. And then the Mitel point of presence connects you in both to the phone services that you're going to have, as well as to the Google and Amazon connectivity, so that you can have access to all of those advanced applications that are hosted in those environments. On top of all of this, Mitel provides fraud detection, voice quality monitoring to make sure that every single call sounds as good as it possibly can, and then monitoring of their high availability infrastructure, so that there's no point where the infrastructure itself, moving the calls back and forth, moving the video and chat communications itself, fails and leaves you high and dry. This is an ideal architecture for making sure that all of your services and capabilities stay up and available to you at all times. This is key to being able to have a great cloud service. And we're very, very happy to see Mitel moving to this architecture, because it makes them a much more reliable partner that we feel very comfortable offering. As we've offered Mitel services for years, now we feel very comfortable offering the Mitel cloud services in the best possible way with this new architecture that they've been rolling out and transitioning their whole product to. But in addition to the architectural piece of it itself, Mitel has implemented a whole new series of processes and procedures, because it's not just about how the hardware is laid out. It's just not about the technical piece of this. It is very much about how the system is operated at all times. And one of the key portions is security. Mitel has done a lot in this area to provide capabilities that will make sure that active risks, in other words, people actually trying to mess with your network, actually trying to mess with your communications, will be mitigated. This goes from everywhere from denial of service attacks, where somebody actively tries to hit you over and over again, to risks such as hackers trying to break their way into the system, either to access your data, access your real-time communications, or just to mess with you. We also see that they're trying to minimize risks that are future state risks that we don't even know about today. And they're working on this very hard with a series of consistent principles that allow them to move forward in a reliable fashion. And so you can feel peace of mind that you don't even know what the future emerging threats may be. Mitel's thinking about that and spending time. You go spend time thinking about your daily business and let them think about these kind of pieces. And that's all great and everything. You can take my word for it, but we don't have to make you do that either, because Mitel is now offering a 90-day guarantee. What does this mean? Well, it means that as Vertical works with you to deploy the system, bring it up, once it becomes operational, you have then 45 days to use the system, feel like it's comfortable. What we normally talk about is an implementation assurance period here at Vertical. You have that time to work through it. And if things still aren't right at the end of that time, then you can come back and say, hey, look, I'm not satisfied. This is not acceptable. Outline the issues. And Vertical and Mitel will work together and have a 30-day period to fix and mitigate all the issues that we're talking about. At the end of that time, you should be finished and happy and ready to go. But if you're not, if this is not acceptable, then the customer can cancel the contract with no obligation. You can say, hey, look, I may have signed a 3-year contract, but this did not work out, and just go your own way. So you can be perfectly satisfied with the rollout. You can be perfectly satisfied with everything that's going on here and feel comfortable with the outcomes. This is another part of this managed services guarantee of making sure that what you're getting really meets your needs. And further on, as the product goes on and you're using it over the multiple years of your contract, Mitel is offering a 99.99% SLA, guaranteeing both uptime with a financial commitment if there's a problem or a failure that is unacceptable. So you're really backing up the whole concept of what we're talking about here today with real chops to say that there's, skin in the game, and you've got, a out if there's a problem, if it's not acceptable to you, if we don't live up to what we're talking about here. And the results of this, these efforts that we've been ongoing for a while, are very real. You can look at it. If you're not familiar with downdetector.com, they're essentially one of the leading monitoring sites of the internet. They take individual reports from individuals as well as their own monitoring efforts to look at and identify major service outages of various cloud providers, both in the communication space and elsewhere. And you can see here that Mitel is one of the 2 leading vendors out there as far as minimal outages and minimal repercussions for customers over the last 12-month rolling period. This is where the rubber really meets the road, because this is what it really says, hey, is this service delivering? Is it really worthwhile? So in this new managed services model, not only do you have vertical offering great service, but the platform itself is becoming highly reliable with real in-the-teeth contract provisions to make sure that you can get out if the implementation doesn't work the way you want, and that you have an SLA backing you up and making sure that you're getting the service that you're looking for. But all of that only matters if this managed services model really works. And that's dependent on us here at Vertical. And so let me spend a moment talking about the vertical difference. Now, most of the people on this call here are already vertical customers, and they know the value of the vertical approach and the vertical difference. But we want to spend a little bit of time talking about this in detail so you understand it. And the very first reason why Vertical offers a different model is we've been doing this for a while. We're not just saying, hey, Mitel announced this in the last month or so, and here we're getting ready with it. Instead, what I'm saying is we've been doing this for several years. We've already implemented this with a number of vendors, and now we're bringing that experience and that knowledge and that expertise of how to do this right, how to truly provide value-added cloud service and support with Mitel. And so very, very few other people in the industry can talk about this. This is not the model that has been in place for cloud. We pioneered it with 8x8 and Ericsson LG. We're bringing it now to Mitel. Others are just getting started in this game. Vertical's been doing this since 2017. And we do it through a very standardized implementation process. We know the steps to take to make this successful. We know how to give you a really good hands-on experience that's going to result in a successful cloud deployment. It is not about, okay, we're going to ship you phones on this date, you're going to cut on this date, and here's some training videos, which is honestly the model you see. Our hands-on process starts with our sales engineer who's going to be with you during the sales process, designing the whole scenario, working with you to make sure that the solution meets your needs, showing you what it looks like, sticking around now for the implementation process. That sales engineer will be involved in the project calls. They'll be involved and accessible so that when you say, hey, wait a second, during sales, we talked about this. They'll say, yeah, that's right, we did. Here's how that works. That sales engineer is going to be joined by a project manager who is a dedicated professional, does nothing else but project management all the time. We have a great team of these project managers who are really the secret to vertical success. And that project manager is going to be supported by a lead technical engineer who's going to do the implementation and work with the sales engineer on getting this system deployed to meet your needs. And one of the first things they're going to do after we get this kicked off, really important to talk about, is the network assessment, to make sure that your infrastructure and everything you need is going to meet your needs. That can be either over a public internet connection back to the Mitel infrastructure, or it could be using a private connection of some time, which we can help with you to set up. If you've already got a private network you want us to connect into, we can work with you on that. If you need to set one up to support this, we can work with you on that as well. But the assessment is going to make sure that it all works before we ever get down the line of making you start to use it. We have a series of tools to make sure that this assessment is successful and gives you the right information. And then from there, we take all the information that we've got, we gather, here's what your workflow looks like, here's what your users look like, here's what your setup is going to be and how it works going forward for you. We take all of that and begin to build the system for you as a whole. Regular ongoing meetings occur, depends upon the scope and size of your project and how often those meetings occur, but the project manager will set up a schedule to make sure you're up to date. And we'll all use what we call our Steps to Success workbook, which is honestly just years and years of Vertical's accumulated experience on every single way you can have one of these go wrong that we've now written down. Here's the way to make sure that that problem doesn't occur. We'll take you through and use that as this common gathering point for all of the information. And then we'll go into the cloud installation phase in which we're ready to cut your system over and deliver it to you. Training will be assigned at this time. We will do live training rather than just pointing you to online resources. Now, let me be clear. Online resources are great. We have a ton of them. Vertical has a tendency to build some of our own resources in addition to what the vendor provides so that you have really great, strong resources for this. Those are all great as a supplement, but they aren't a replacement for somebody who has been there and knows what they're doing, training your personnel so that they really know what's happening. And then we'll enter into that implementation assurance phase, which I mentioned before, which is the system's live, you're using it, it's been operational, you know how it works. You just will probably have some lingering issues, some things that need to get cleaned up. You'll discover things you didn't realize. Oh, hey, really, we need this to ring a few seconds longer. Oh, it would be better if this changed. And Vertical will have a punch list. We'll continue to meet on a regular basis and get that all solved for you. And so this is this process that's been proven for us to work. It's a revision of really what the same process we've used on the premises side with just some particular tweaks and focuses for cloud that we've been using for years now in delivering cloud solutions. And now we're able to bring that to delivering Mitel's cloud solutions too. All of this is done by our great team, dedicated project managers, our expert technicians and engineers who've got years of certified experience in all of this, the managers who run them, as well as the customer support reps or the people who you first call and talk to when you have a problem. They're going to take the information down, prioritize, and help get you all that information. And this team works all over the country. I think I mentioned already, we're a distributed team, so we're not all sitting in one place. We are distributed across the country so that no single location can cause a failure that causes us not to be able to take care of you. We're completely distributed across the United States in that respect. And this team is one that really is just astounding. We call it award-winning service and support. That's because we really do win awards. Eastern Management Group has given us awards for being #1 in customer support, contact center reliability, when doing a survey of real customers like you in the size of 300 seats or more. Mitel has called us out as one of the top 3 Mitel partners in the country. Ericsson LG has called us out as the top technical support team for their product in the world. And with 8x8, we are their #1 distribution VAR out there in this unique partner-led model. Frost & Sullivan has given us awards for our entire customer engagement process, the process from starting with sales, moving on into the implementation process I talked about before. And CIO Applications Magazine has called us one of the top 10 Mitel solution providers out there. So when I say we are award-winning, that's not theoretical. It's very, very literal. And there's a lot of them out there from everybody we work with. And the scope of services that we can provide range from the professional solution engineering that starts off this whole process to design it, to our extensive relationship of national carriers that can provide network services for you to support the cloud solutions, in addition to our relationships with customers like Mitel. Our live remote assistance, the ability to solve problems remotely if necessary, but also our ability to send support on site when needed. And that's something that doesn't seem as obvious in the realm of cloud in the days of remote working and everything. But when you do need a problem solved, when you need somebody to go on site and figure out what it is, Vertical can deploy that and has the capability to do that as well, which often is not the case with a lot of service providers. And then finally, of course, I mentioned our professional project management. And that team is really one of those key secret sauce parts to this whole thing, is dedicated people who are trained and 100% dedicated to the role of being project management more than anything else. The end result is customers like you, people out there that we have who had successful customers for years and years, ones that we're transitioning to cloud and moving there all the time and providing this new managed services model. So really, that's the whole concept. We're taking Mitel's great new offering where they've re-engineered their entire network and putting it together with our great value-added service in a new business model that allows us to actually offer service as a value rather than service as a cost center. And that will be what will make it a really successful cloud implementation when you're ready to go there. This managed services model is, I think, what we're going to see a lot more of the industry get there. But people are catching up slowly. They're just buying into the idea. It's taking time because right now there's just such a land grab in cloud. The question is, are you going to get good cloud service or not? And Vertical says that the answer needs to be, you've got to have that good cloud service. So if this sounded interesting to you, if you're interested in learning more about doing this, if you've been thinking about cloud transitions like virtually everybody in the country has, and you've been thinking, okay, maybe we need to start moving to that, you can go ahead and just talk to your Vertical account manager today. They can help you get started with this process and look at the possibility of moving over to the Mitel MiCloud Connect with Vertical providing the service and support. If you're not sure who your Vertical account manager is, just go ahead and contact me, kbutler@vertical.com, and we can go ahead and have a discussion. Make sure that you get an account manager assigned and get going from there. So there we go. It's as simple as that. So there's a question already, and if remember, all you have to do is click on chat on the bar and type your question in so that we can go through and get answers. And the first question we've already got here is, if a company were to choose to go to the cloud, do they have to purchase new phones if they already have phones on their current Mitel system? Depends on the phones you've already got on your Mitel system. The answer is maybe. And certainly this is something you can talk with your account manager. It's something you can talk with your account manager to make sure of. For example, if you have a system that's still using, digital phones rather than IP phones, I can go ahead and tell you that no, you're going to have to look at making a transition. Now, having said that, we do have some great commercial offerings to make that as painless as possible, and we can make it simple for you. If you already have IP phones deployed on a Mitel solution, it's very possible that we can move those over and you won't have to repurchase those phones. That's definitely a discussion with your Vertical account manager to have, and something that you want to talk through with them to make sure that you understand how to make that transition. We're going to make it as painless as possible for you. We're going to make it as easy as possible for you. That's part of the reason, if you already have a Mitel solution, that we suggest you go to the Mitel MiCloud Connect, because it's going to be the simplest move possible for you, and Vertical is going to make that happen. If it doesn't make sense, we also have other products that we can talk to you about. We're not set on only offering one product. So the next question that we have is, does the total cost of cloud really decrease versus owning your own equipment? And this is one of those long-term questions that people ask over and over again, of total cost of ownership and what happens with a premises-based system versus a cloud system. And the answer is not exactly clear-cut. And the reason for that is a couple of things. One of those is cloud is an all-encompassing package. Cloud includes your phone services. You don't have to go out and buy additional trunking or anything along those lines. It also includes all the service and support, so you don't have to have a support labor contract. It also allows you to be much more flexible in how it operates. So if you do have people working from home, as virtually everybody does, if you've got people who are moving around, it's a lot more cost effective in that respect. But it does matter specifically what your usage scenario is. Cloud is not the perfect panacea. It is not the perfect thing that works for every single customer. That's why you have your Vertical account team to be able to work with you and figure out the right way to go through this and what makes the most sense. We have a number of customers, in fact, probably still the majority of Vertical's customers today are on premises-based systems, and there's good value for them in that. So it's not a one or the other kind of scenario. The key message here today is simply that if you're looking at cloud, as so many people are, and there are good values for that, then you need to absolutely 100% make sure that you're getting one where you have real service and support. Quality service and support that's motivated and has a financial package that makes sense to provide you good service and support, and not one where people say, well, you're not going to need much of that. This is just so easy to use, you'll never need us. That's not the right answer. Believe us, we've been delivering cloud solutions for years, and you still need a quality service and support organization to help you with new projects, with expansions, with new capabilities, but also to help you when the issues do arise, when you do have a concern or you do have a problem, to be your advocate and to be the person who supports you when something does go wrong. All right, so are there other questions out there? Anything else that we can answer for you at this time? All right, I've done such a great job that no one has anything to say. Man, I'm just that good. Really appreciate your time today talking about this. If you do think of another question, once again, talk to your vertical account team, or you can contact me directly. Be happy to answer your questions, get you started looking at a cloud solution if that's the direction you're going in. Appreciate everyone's time today, and we'll give you back a little bit of it so that you can go get other productive things done. Have a nice day.